Sony PS5 sales up 38%, Paul throughout.
Yep.
3.3 million, I think.
I have the story bookmark. Yeah, 3.3 million, I guess, in the quarter. Yeah. Revenues up 33%. They expect to sell 25 million units in the year to March 2024, which is when the fiscal year ends for them. So 25 million. They're going to have a big Christmas. Yeah.
It's actually quite a bit because we don't know the official numbers, but the leaked numbers from somebody at Microsoft in Brazil, whatever, noted that they had sold was like 21 million Series S and X. Now that wasn't super up-to-date data, but it was still whatever. But that means Sony thinks in the year ahead they're going to sell more than, we both.
I mean, it's almost like Microsoft should make a big acquisition to help solve this problem.
Yeah, but the real important thing here is, Paul, we both wear black today. Neither one of us.
It is a 75% chance I'll be wearing black, so it's not like I
mean, usually we coordinate through text message prior to.
Right.
Technically, I'm wearing
Azul Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the Sony.
Yeah.
See if Call of Duty makes any dent. I'm going to go with probably not.
I think this is going to be one of the lesser releases from a revenue whatever perspective.
Well, it's perfect timing because they're going to hand this thing over to Microsoft and be like, "Good luck."
And, well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like under the previous schedule, there would have been 2 games between Modern Warfare 2 and 3?
Yeah,
or at least one,
like a Black Ops version,
something.
Yep.
And rushing this out is a kind of a money grab, but B suggests they didn't have anything else ready, and it will always stand out when you look at the schedule of these games. It's like, that's kind of weird. Those things were back to back. They never did that before. But it's also heading into the Microsoft era, I guess. And I don't know. I think Call of Duty declines as a...
I was just about to say this. We're going to look back on this in a few years, and one of two things is going to happen. We're either going to say, man, that was a great acquisition. They've really done well. They've really grown the thing. Game Pass is blowing up and everything else. That is one potential outcome. The other is they massively overpaid for this. Call of Duty is not performing to expectations. And yeah, this was a bad deal.
I'm not sure if it's I mean, we'll see whether it's a good or bad deal, but it diminished Call of Duty is still a pretty,
it's still going to make money, but
we'll see. But yeah, that was an era that, in the 90s, like id Software pretty much dominated first-person shooters. Duke Nukem 3D jumped in there. I mean, obviously there were others, but they were like the studio, like they were it. And Call of Duty, I don't know, 2003, somewhere around there, something like that for the first one, probably on PC, somewhere in the early 2000s, Medal of Honor, and then Call of Duty. And
I would say Medal of Honor, that's one.
Call of Duty 2, and certainly 4. From then on, it's been all Call of Duty. I think, Fortnite is the chip, that kind of started knocking away at the Call of Duty stuff. And it forced them to... They didn't at first, and maybe arguably are still not, but it kind of forces the quality up on the Call of Duty front because you actually have competition and people are leaving to go to these other games. So you gotta show up. And when you have a bad game, like that last World War II game or whatever, or when it just doesn't meet expectation, it wasn't a bad game. It just, whatever, didn't really resonate. Yeah, I mean, that's how it happens. So we'll see.
Yeah.
They could rebound.
There's a new security issue with specific Intel chips called Downfall that has kind of been coming around, making a lot of news this morning, I should say. The only reason I bring this up, people should be aware of it because they can steal your credentials. Very specific as that all aside. It looks like it impacts older chips only, and those older chips being in the Skylake generation, there's a couple newer than Skylake. But there's, of course, the instant whispers start saying, well, when Windows 12 comes around, they're just going to nuke these and just kind of remove them.
Yep. Yeah, this is the excuse that Microsoft needs. Plus, Microsoft can retroactively be like, see, Told you so.
Yeah.
Like as if it knew anything about this. But that's also the Meltdown Spectre generation of chips, right? I wonder if it's tied to that, or there's a similar attack or something.
I think it's similar. Now, according to, it says that Intel's rolling out a fix potentially. So we'll see.
Is the fix a $50 off coupon for a new Intel chipset?
Problem is I'm running a whole bunch of Skylake stuff in this house because I'm a...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sure. If they nuke that from Windows 12, that's going to be rough. I mean, this box already doesn't run Windows 11, so...
Pretty soon you'll just be running like a bootleg copy of Windows 8.11 or something, and
what's changed since Windows 7, Paul?
Using an out-of-date version of Firefox.
I can't remember if I was talking to you about this or somebody else, but it's like thinking about what's different between Windows 7 and Windows 11.
What's different?
Well, start menu's centered, and they spent a lot of time doing stuff under the hood, which is fine. I'm not saying that there's not value in that, but
yeah,
it's not much.
It's prettier.
Yeah.
I guess that's in the eye of the beholder, but I think it's prettier. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's better display scaling than there used to. I mean, this should always be true, right? That improves a little bit with each release. I'm stretching here. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's like settings is whatever. Control panel's still there. Still functional. Yeah. Still usable.
What I like, so one of the things I have to do occasionally is go to add or remove programs, which is the old way of adding or removing programs. It's a control panel applet. And if you type this into the Star Search thing, it brings you to settings, not to the control panel. And it's like, okay, I mean, it probably does everything, but you actually have to search for control panel and then go find it from there now. Like you used to be able to go right to it. And I think there used to be a link in settings too that would get you to it. And I'm sure the thinking there is like, this thing probably does everything the other one does, sort of. But I don't know, for removing desktop apps, like I like to just go to the well.
Yeah, they're not supposedly, they started rolling, well, why did that not switch back? An updated File Explorer. That is something that has been showing up in, it's not like dramatically updated, let's be real here. And I think this is Dev. I think it's in Dev.
Yeah, so this is the, I mean, I try not to be cynical, but it just comes pouring out. You know, Microsoft came up with this thing called XAML Islands, which was a way to kind of bridge the desktop UWP gap. It worked so poorly that they had to make their own version internally to do what they did with File Explorer as we see it now in Windows 11. And this made it really hard to extend the, File Explorer, blah, blah, blah. So, they announced last year probably that we're going to redo File Explorer. This time we're going to use the Windows App SDK, which is the more modern version of this stuff. And they found out exactly the same thing. So the Windows App SDK stuff they're doing to make parts of the File Explorer window different now are not available to the public because the existing solution is not powerful enough. So it's like, it's still going to be better, but it's just, it kind of boggles the mind that Microsoft can't use its own tools without having to modify them to do things like this. So it's happening again.
The other thing too is if anybody's used the new version of File Explorer, I wouldn't exactly call it performant or an improvement in performance in really honestly any meaningful way, at least yet. Now, granted, they could fix it before they ship it, but
I think we all know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
What will happen is people will use it in the real world and they'll complain. And then one or two versions later, they'll finally start fixing it and then they'll celebrate themselves for listening to feedback or something. I don't know. The typical Microsoft support loop.
Yeah. I mean, prior to this, and I'm assuming it still is, File Explorer was a bowl of spaghetti. And
it still is. Yeah.
I'm going to go with they just put more meatballs on top of the spaghetti rather than actually.
Right. That's right. Less pasta, more meatballs.
I mean, let's be honest. Is there anybody inside of Microsoft who, other than like Rusinovich maybe, who would like deeply understand File Explorer to me and say, look, this is how we rebuild it in the modern era?
You could make an argument, and I guess I will, that File Explorer, like a web browser, is the perfect example of something that has to be a hybrid app, meaning part desktop technology, part modern, whatever they're calling it this year, technology. So, there are low-level functions of a file management utility, of course, that you need running as close to the metal as possible. And those things are going to be non-hybrid or non-modern legacy desktop, Win32 SDK, maybe even assembly language stuff. I mean, that's just the way that's going to be. But they have these beautiful tools for creating front-end UI. Well, no, sorry. They have horrible tools for creating front-end UI, but they have beautiful front-end UIs you can create at great labor.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to use that for the UI, not just so it kind of fits in with everything else, which actually is important, but because that stuff is nice. Like it really is nice looking. But yeah, that's it. I don't see. There's no version of this where File Explorer is not a hybrid app. It's always going to have those two sides.
Yeah.
You're never going to use modern class libraries for file access and File Explorer. My God, like this thing has to actually work. And if you use this thing, most of the time it doesn't work anyway. I can't tell you how many times I go to OneDrive on the web to find a file that is in my file system, but I can't find it because Windows search is so terrible.
Windows search is pretty garbage.
It's not good.
Yeah. So, anyways,
there's your dilemma.
Yeah, there's your dilemma. I got a dilemma for you. I don't even know what that means, but it just felt.
Web browser, same thing, right? You're doing a lot of low-level network access. It's the same exact model. So.
Yep, we'll see. We'll see if they ship it. It's in the beta channel. That's what I was trying to find, which means
if it's in the beta channel, they almost certainly will ship it.
Yeah, so the expectation would be September or maybe
September,
October.
Probably in preview, and then October for and then November for everybody, because Microsoft, something like that.
Something like that. I was about to say, you're probably right.
Yep, just based on experience.
Which means that that's not going to be the last update for Windows 11, a big update. But then we could be counting down for 12.
Will future versions be enablement package, small things, all based on you know what? Honestly, if Windows 12 is coming next year, there's a great reason to do that. And it's the same one that you use for Windows 10 today, right?
Yep.
Same idea. And honestly, for people that want to stick with those systems, that's kind of good news, right? A lot less churn. Some people really want that.
The crazy thing, Paul, throughout is that, according to, I think, of Stack Counters, Windows 11 penetration is only like 24% or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's the hardware stuff, and I get it.
This is you're seeing what happens when business doesn't migrate.
Yeah, but that seems to be the narrative.
Yeah, so Windows 12 will come out. It will be a year later, and the dominant version of Windows in the world will be Windows 11 all of a sudden. Because, well, we'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see, because there might be an interesting mix there.
The question becomes, are they going to extend 10?
I don't think they do. Especially not if they do a 12.
They have to for business, I'd think.
Well, it depends on where we are in that kind of upgrade life cycle thing, right? I know they're getting stretched out more and more, but that's what would benefit 12. You could make the argument as a business, like, look, if we're going to upgrade en masse, let's just do the latest version so we have the longest headway, or whatever you want to call it.
Microsoft's sitting there thinking, I know how we're going to fix this PC sales slump.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We're going to support every one of these things for 3 years. That's how they're going to do it.